Happy New Year, our brothers and sisters, both in the motherland and in the diaspora. We hope that your year is coming along fine. So we are starting with a feud that is going on between Ethiopia and Somalia. And we are going to start with why do we have this feud that is trading online and offline. So guys, do you remember last year we talked about the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed talking about asserting the Ethiopian's position in the Red Sea? He said that Ethiopia should assert its right to access the Red Sea in bid to allow development of Ethiopia. And he was talking about Ethiopia having 150 million people, and these big populations should not live without a port. You remember? And it roused a lot of concerns, in which Somalia and Eritrea said no. And we had that video on my channel, and you guys commented on it.
A lot of you guys were, it's wrong.
Yeah. So what happened is on Monday, this Monday, 1st of January, there's a deal that was signed between Musa Bihi Abdi, who is the president of Somaliland. Guys, I need you to understand, if you don't know, that there's Somalia and Somaliland, and Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia. So what Somaliland did is they leased 20 kilometers of the coastline, that is about 12 miles, for 50 years to Ethiopia for use, to access the maritime, to do its maritime
direct access to the port and
maritime operations, have a military base, and in return they will have a stake in the Ethiopian airline. So this agreement paves way to allow Ethiopia to have commercial marine operations in the region by giving it access to a leased military base on the Red Sea. So let's go to Somaliland. So Somaliland is a former British protectorate. So it's a breakaway of Somalia. So in 1991, after the downfall of the former president Said Barre of Somalia, Somalia became very unstable. So there are two factions or two areas that broke away. We have Somaliland to the north and Puntland, which follows Somaliland. These two areas are, Somalia says they are part of me, but for them they claim to be independent. And apart from now Mogadishu or Somalia saying that they are part of me, we see Somaliland is wholly independent in a way that it has its own constitution, government, security forces, and currency. So what do you think about a country having its own currency?
All of these things that you have mentioned.
Constitution, government, currency, security forces. That's a whole country.
I don't know why the AU and UN are not recognizing, because if the people feel like we are independent, we are living separately from Somalia, we are, I don't know why we need to have the AU and the UN.
The AU. And remember, there's also Puntland. I don't have a lot of information on that, on Puntland, but we know about Somaliland. And at some point, Kenya tried to recognize Somaliland, and there was a very huge feud between Somalia and Kenya.
Eritrea did the same thing with Ethiopia. They broke away from Ethiopia and they are a sovereign state. And so it works well for them. As much as we're advocating for...
We are not advocating for
breaking.
We are advocating for one Africa.
Exactly. As much as we're advocating for that, I think when people can't see eye to eye, if that will bring wars like it brought... that's not the topic of the day.
So we continue with the facts.
All right.
So Somaliland has been signing agreements with various countries, including on port development. And I'm sure this Berbera port, because it's a huge port, has been developed by someone foreigner without Somalia being involved. So Ethiopia, on the other hand, remember, like you've said, Ethiopia was one country with Eritrea. But in 1993, after a three-decade war, Eritrea declared independence and became a sovereign state. Then Ethiopia was using the airport. They continued using the airport until there was another war between 1998 and 2000.
Just recent.
So that made them enemies until now, when Abiy Ahmed headed this feud. we celebrated him. He's a good prime minister because Eritrea and Ethiopia are the same people.
They're the same.
But since the 1998-2000 war, Ethiopia has been using the Djibouti port.
Yeah.
So after all this, we saw Somalia cabinet saying Ethiopia's step endangers the stability of peace in the region, and we saw them recalling the ambassador to some. They recalled the ambassador to Ethiopia of that pact. And do you know why they did that, or why they are saying that Ethiopia's step endangers the stability and peace of the region? So Somalia does not recognize Somaliland as an independent nation.
No.
They still say they are part of us.
Yeah?
It's our country. We do not recognize their sovereignty and all that. So in the last a week or 2 weeks, we saw Djibouti coming to bring them together. We saw Somalia and Somaliland resuming talks over Somaliland's independence, and the talk focused on security, economic issues, and the political status of Somaliland. So they were trying to, reconcile. They are trying to become one nation again. So that's why you see Djibouti coming to bring them together so that it can be Somalia again without saying Somaliland.
And that is where I feel they feel the betrayal.
Yeah, exactly. That is where they are saying that that endangers stability and peace in the region. Because when we are trying to come together,
now
you go at the back and pinch my brother and say, let's do this. So because Somalia had said no, you remember last year they said no, we are not going to give you the port. But now they went to Somaliland. Then on top of that, they have this deal of recognizing Somaliland
as a sovereign state.
So guys, we have two issues here. We have Ethiopia, which genuinely wants a place on the ocean, and we have Somalia, which genuinely wants to reconcile with his brother. So what I think is this: Ethiopia should have gone directly to Somalia and tried to talk, and also Eritrea, they are in terms. Now you can continue coercing them to accept, rather than going through Somaliland.
My issue is that you are supporting the fact that Ethiopia should be given direct port, and all along I've been arguing that it's invasion of the country's sovereignty. If we have found these borders which were not by us as Africans, we should aim at removing the borders first before we can say, give me access to the port, give me access to the sea, because these are borders that were imposed on us by the colonialists. And the best thing that we can do is to come together as Africa, sit down and say, how are these borders helping us if they are helping us? Or how are they preventing us from the developments that we need to see for our continent? Because Ethiopia is the second largest population in Africa, and it not having direct access to the sea, it hinders on their development extremely. So the borders actually are not helping Ethiopia and the rest of the neighbors in Ethiopia, because if they were to open up, not only Ethiopia will benefit from this opening up. So I've always been against the borders, and for me the first point to start from is the removal of borders. And the more we see these people wanting to be alone, Somaliland wants to be on its own from Somalia, Eritrea is broken away from Ethiopia, that is just more damage to the problem that we have. So that is where we should start looking at the problem from. Borders, useless for us. Ethiopia, you need a port. If we had no borders, it would mean that the only thing that is dividing us maybe is our tribes. But we are still one people. You can easily go. Ethiopia can easily send its trucks to the port and get whatever oil they need or whatever imports they are bringing in from other countries. It wouldn't be really, because if you have to access a country's port, if it's Djibouti, they have their own laws, they have their own regulations and tariffs and so many nitty-gritties that you need to go through before you can actually process or take your goods from their country to your country. But if we had if it's East African bloc, it's open, East African bloc is open, Southern African bloc is open, then we wouldn't be needing all of this. I want direct access. We have seen a lot of Eritreans totally against this move by Ethiopia. And what for me that brings is even hatred amongst ourselves, because if our leaders are not in agreement, there's high chances that our people will not be in agreement, because some of these decisions don't only affect the governments, but they also affect the people. That's how I look at it.
So in my case, I support, okay, abolishment of borders. Perfect, because we will not be seeing this, we will not be seeing Ethiopia asking for,
No.
and Ethiopia is that largest economy in Africa.
It's third or second.
It's that. And being that, they are being limited from their growth because of lack of direct access to port. Because a developed country should have a navy, you know, a military navy. They should also have a port, you know, to directly get products out and in. But now they don't have this, and I'm sure now the tariffs and the laws by these countries, that is Djibouti and Eritrea, hinders Ethiopia into doing some things. Maybe they don't conform to export of marijuana, and Ethiopia probably want to grow marijuana. Just saying, yeah? But before we go to abolishment of borders, because this would be, this could take forever. People don't like abolishment of borders. The Somali president would not want to be, you know, a governor of Somalia.
Less of whatever he is.
Yeah, and that is what has been limiting Africa since, you know, the times of Kwame Nkrumah, when he said they should abolish borders. One Africa right now, but they refused. So before we abolish borders, probably it will happen 100 years from now.
Yeah, maybe our great-grandchildren.
Yeah,
will be
100
honest.
years from today. Does it mean that Ethiopia should just be staying like this? And it's not wrong for Ethiopia to ask the brother countries to just give them a place. And it's not giving, it's leasing. Like Somaliland leased them for 50 years.
And there's other countries listening.
Yeah. But like I was saying in the other video, is it because this is our African brother that you are saying no? Because when we look at Somalia, they have Turkey, USA, UAE in the same country. They have all these military bases. Djibouti alone has like 8 military bases. USA, France, China, Germany, Spain, Japan, Italy, Belgium.
But they don't want Ethiopia.
They don't want Ethiopia. Eritrea has Iran and Israel, and it's considering having China and Russia. But when it comes to Ethiopia, we don't want. Is it because this is our brother? So for me, I support if the right way, not going through Somaliland, because now that this is bringing other feuds. I support if Ethiopia could go through the right way, talk to Eritrea and say we want this. You know, they've been friends with Isaias Afwerki. And probably even Djibouti is so full. Djibouti, if they gave them a place, could be the best, because they have this rail going from Addis to Djibouti. Well-developed rail system. But now Somalia is also good. But they also have an access to the port of Lamu in Kenya. That would have been great, but it's very far. So I support these guys giving Ethiopia some piece of
Airport.
Yeah, of the airport for them to use unconditionally. Yeah.
I don't know why Ethiopia feels then, okay, well, there's those tariffs, there's all of these regulations for this country. But if these people really don't want to give you, I think for me, just consider working with their conditions.
Or
You don't have-
going through those people who, although it's a bit expensive, going through those people who allows you to do it.
Like Somaliland.
No, like Kenya.
Kenya allows them.
The port of Kenya, LAPSET, it's a project by the 3 countries.
Yeah, but so Ethiopia feels the need. Like for them, it's
And
not
there is
about.
a need.
It's not about us able to import our goods and export our goods. It's about having a port, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know why
You know,
they really need to have that if these countries are against it. And I totally get your point. We have France, we have US, which is totally wrong. Why are these people in our countries?
Yes.
If it was Ethiopia in that place, then it would be something else. But we now have the West invading our own spaces, and we're okay with that. There's just too much in that region.
But I think for Ethiopia to do this, it's because they are looking at the port that they are using in Djibouti. It doesn't favor them. Probably they want to import and export a lot of things, and it takes a lot of time for the port of Djibouti to clear and process and all that. Or probably they also want to have a navy, because without having a port, how can you have a navy? And a navy is very important. Like all the developed countries who have navies, Ethiopia will not have.
You're a landlocked country.
But you
And
need to
Ethiopia
protect yourself. Probably someone is coming from the Sea of China or Japan, and they are coming to attack you. You need to send your navy.
This is more political than it looks
Yeah.
like. And if you don't have that port, you are always at the mercy of that country. If today Somalia decides we don't want you, we can't be, we are blocking you, then all your perishable goods will just be wasted in the port. So as much as it makes a lot of sense, it still doesn't make sense.
And do you know which countries are supporting Somalia and saying Ethiopia is wrong, they should respect the sovereignty?
Of course, it's the West.
It's the EU and Egypt. Who is fighting with Egypt? Ethiopia, because of the dam. So it gets more complicated. I know the people of Somalia will be like, no, you guys, they should not do this. True, they should not do that, because
it's very wrong of them to go
these guys,
Somaliland.
These guys wanted to, so they've gone to the weakest link, and they could lead to wars and all that.
A lot of conflict.
But I wish they went through IGAD, although IGAD is better than AU, right? Or the East African community, because Somalia is part of it. And they go through, they can join the East African community, and Museveni can, And guys, apart from that, we are also seeing a fight between Uganda and Kenya.
Hey.
So Uganda might be wanting a port to in the future, because you see, I think this is what you're talking about. Because you're saying that Ethiopia in future, Somalia might say we don't want to, or Djibouti might say we have to, like Eritrea did.
Like what Benin did to Niger.
Yeah. And they will be suffering. The same thing is happening with Uganda. And Uganda has to sue Kenya because of what Kenya is doing. So I think it's in order that they need a place for their port.
But imagine the whole of these landlocked countries in Africa saying we all need ports. Or should we rearrange our continent and say all African countries, even those within the inner part of Africa, should have direct access to the sea? Then that would be something else.
Yeah, I think that would be the best. And if they don't want to give them access, I think what they need is their system. Like if for Uganda we give them a piece, we say use this part of our port, that would be for clearing and receiving and importing. Like we are autonomous. We are not
it's
together.
Like the border gate of the country.
Of the country too. But now you let them use. Like President Uhuru of Kenya gave them a dry port in somewhere in Naivasha for clearing and all that for their goods, which was wonderful for Kenya and Uganda.
Maybe that would be the best, because these borders are not seemingly going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, and these are not our borders.
No.
Yeah. So, guys, let us know what you think about this. We'll be having a live session on Saturday talking about this, because this will take forever,
and
guys.
they all are Eritrean, Ethiopian, Somalian, Somalilanders. Do they call them that?
It's Somali. And we have our Somali sister who joined us sometime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to her to join.
Please
join so that we can talk about this and
you can enlighten us more, because it gets more complicated.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comment section what you think about this, guys. Are you supporting Ethiopia, Somaliland, Somalia, Somaliland? What is happening in your mind? What do you think about this whole confusion?
Are you from Puntland?
Yeah, what is really
what is
going
Puntland?
on?
Yeah.
You need to enlighten us more in the comment section down below. Please don't forget to like the video, share the video, and definitely subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye bye.